Good morning. On many of our many beautiful clear days in Colorado Springs, take a moment to look up just above the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. There you might be able to see a tower. It might remind you of a medieval castle in Europe. But this is the Will Rogers Shrine to the Sun. It is 8,000 feet above sea level, and it is dedicated to Will Rogers, a good friend of Julie and Spencer Penrose. So, who were Julie and Spencer Penrose? In the beginning of the 20th century, they were very important and influential people in Colorado Springs. They built the Broadmoor Hotel, also the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. They also began to develop projects around the city, like the Fine Arts Center and the road to the top of Pikes Peak, including the cog rail that has taken millions of visitors to the top. A local architect named Charles Thomas designed the monument in a Romanesque style popular in Europe at the time. Some interesting facts about the monument. The shrine stands at 114 feet. You get perfect views from the top. It's made of Cheyenne granite, and which was quarried 700 feet away from the site. They used 200,000 pounds of steel and 30 wagons of cement. No nails or wood were used in the construction. The inside is a chapel decorated with European antiques, which Julie personally brought over from Europe. It actually houses the tombs of Spencer and Julie Penrose, not Will Rogers' tomb. And so, who is Will Rogers, and why was this monument dedicated to him? He was a very good friend of the Penrose. Mr. Rogers was born in Oklahoma in 1879. His parents were Cherokee descendants. He was a multi-talented man, a stage and film actor, a cowboy, humorist, newspaper columnist, a social commentator. Some may say even a modern philosopher. Some of his most famous quotes are, "I've never met a man I didn't like." He was speaking about Leon Trotsky. "Don't let yesterday use up too much of today." One of my personal favorites. Will Rogers was killed in a plane crash in Alaska in 1935. The following video is from the Will Rogers Shrine of the Sun website. Currently, the tower is closed to visitors because of COVID. But I hope later on this year to be able to walk to the tower. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
In the 1930s, Spencer knew that he was dying of cancer and so started to plan his burial project on Cheyenne Mountain. And to that end, he designed the Shrine of the Sun. The shrine is known as the Shrine of the Sun because of the extraordinary way the sunlight plays off of the tower at sunrise and sunset. In the winter of 1934, Spencer broke ground on the Shrine of the Sun, which was to be his burial ground and Julie's as well. And he enlisted the help of his architect and superintendent, who worked on other projects with him, to construct it out of Pikes Peak granite, which is the primary material that makes up Cheyenne Mountain. So the construction crew actually quarried Pikes Peak granite from Cheyenne Mountain about 700 feet away and hand chiseled all of the blocks that formed the tower. During construction of the Shrine of the Sun, Will Rogers died tragically in a plane crash in Alaska, and it was at that point that Spencer decided to dedicate the shrine in honor of the beloved American humorist.
Spencer Penrose, famous Coloradoan.
Will Rogers was humorous, philosopher, and friend to all mankind. He recognized the obligations of good citizenship and lived accordingly. I valued his friendship and life and revere his memory. The Shrine of the Sun on Cheyenne Mountain is my tribute to Will Rogers, a memorial designed to keep alive forever the inspiration of a great American.
Will Rogers was a prolific actor, writer, radio personality, and performer in the earlier part of the 20th century. He was a cultural icon in America. He was generous, relatable, funny. He was very humorous in his talkie films and on his radio broadcasts and in newspapers, and was really the only individual to dominate every form of popular media and entertainment back in his time. During his radio broadcast times, there were several churches that would actually report drops in attendance because people wanted to go listen to Will Rogers on the radio, and so they started broadcasting Will in church. He was that homey, that down to earth, and just that lovable.
You say you were born in the Indian Territory, and at that time they had no such thing as birth certificates? Then how are we to know of your birth?
But kind of gather from you that you doubt I was born. Of course, out in our country, if you walk up and appear before anybody in person, why, we take it as fairly positive proof that you must have been born.
But you are an American citizen.
Well, I think I am. Folks, Indian, both my mother and father had Cherokee blood in them. Born and raised in Indian Territory. Of course, I'm not these Americans whose ancestors come over on the Mayflower, but we met them at the boat when they landed. And it's always been to the everlasting discredit of the Indian race that we ever let them land. It was. I mean, that's the only thing I ever blame Indians for.
Will Rogers grew up on his father's ranch in Indian Territory in what is now Ooliga, Oklahoma. And there he developed his love of roping and pursued roping throughout his life, and it led him into his career as a performer and an actor. And he actually has a Guinness World Record for his roping skills for throwing 3 ropes at once. It's actually on his film, The Ropin' Fool, that he produced.